computer. Right, and we have. So what module are we on?
11.
7.
Yeah, we're coming to the end. Sam, are we ready for, did you do your experiment and are we ready for part 4?
Yes, I fit 2 of them in one binder, so we should be good to print.
Okay, so hand off to Christine.
Yeah,
And what are we going to do? Are we going to move 3 that when we finish 3, we're going to move it into the previous binder and put the new one in this
I
binder?
think
Or
that's
what's the plan?
easiest. I think it's easiest to use the binder, like only have one module in the binder that we're using.
Okay, so the binder for module 2, you're now going to put 3 into what? What are you showing me, Tom, that you're on Remarkable?
No, I'm just showing you that I have 3 binders in this one binder.
Remarkable.
And it works. It's actually an iPad.
Okay. Thank you.
We're in the
Mr.
digital
Techno.
age.
But it
You're
is
in the
quite
digital
remarkable.
age.
I will say it's quite remarkable.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right, guys, wise guys. All right, so what are we talking about in this chapter? We are talking about,
Accountability without blame.
yay, how to hold standards, name misses, and require correction without shame or excuse making. Everybody got that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, this is about having serious conversations around accountability. So I'm going to lead you off, and then we'll go with our regular exercises. This module focuses on one of the most important disciplines in a healthy dealership culture: how to hold people accountable in a way that is clear, fair, and effective without slipping into blame, humiliation, harshness, or avoidance. In many workplaces, accountability is either too weak or too toxic. In one version, people hesitate to name problems directly because they do not want conflict, do not want to hurt feelings, or do not want to seem harsh. In another version, accountability appears only after frustration has built, but it comes out as blame, public pressure, sarcasm, or character attack. Neither approach works well. One creates drift, the other one creates fear, defensiveness, and compliance without real learning. A dealership needs accountability because, and please underline, circle, and highlight everything that's relevant, because work is interconnected and the cost of drift is real. Missed details create rework. Poor tone spreads tension. Incomplete handoffs affect customers. Weak follow-through burdens other departments. Repeated lateness, vagueness, avoidance, or rescue patterns quietly reshape the store if they are not addressed. Accountability is how a team protects standards, fairness, trust, and operational reliability. But the way accountability is delivered matters. If people experience correction as shaming, personal, inconsistent, or politically selective, then even accurate feedback may fail to improve behavior. A useful distinction is this: accountability is not blame. Underline, highlight, circle. Accountability is not blame. Accountability asks what happened, what was the effect, who owns what, and what needs to be changed. Blame asks who is the problem. Accountability is specific, behavioral, and forward moving. Blame is often emotional, personal, and backward fixated. Accountability can be firm, it can include consequences, but it does not need contempt in order to have force. So if you're coming in hot on something that has just happened, how likely are you to fall into blame? Just give me a thumbs up if you know that that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so that's when we call timeout. You know, I'm coming in hot. Ken and you and I talked about this. When I have an emotional charge, I might be carrying an emotional charge from something that happened at home. I might be carrying an emotional charge for something that happened on the drive-in. And if that's why we always have to be taking our emotional temperature. I need to know where I am so that I don't discharge that emotional static energy that I'm carrying inappropriately on someone. Another useful distinction is this: understanding context is not the same as excusing the pattern. I want you to underline that and listen closely. Understanding context is not the same as excusing the pattern. A person may have been rushed, overloaded, unclear, distracted, embarrassed, or carrying a hot charge from personal strain, what we just talked about. Those realities may matter, but they do not erase impact. Clean accountability allows context without letting context become immunity. The standard is not perfection, the standard is ownership. Many people have complicated reactions to accountability because of how they learned corrections early in life. Some learn to collapse into shame, hearing every correction as I am bad, I am worthless. Some people learn to defend quickly, explain excessively, or argue in tension. Some learn to comply outwardly while resisting inwardly. Some learn to avoid correction entirely until someone else carried the burden. These patterns are understandable, but they weaken the dealership culture because they turn in normal correction into emotional drama of useful adjustment. Give me a thumbs up if you found one that describes you in that list. Okay, it's good to know where your pattern is, and it's good to start paying attention to the patterns of the people around you. In the psychoethical workplace, the guiding question is not merely who is at fault. The guiding question is, how do we name the issue clearly, take ownership for impact, and create a correction that strengthens the store? That question protects dignity while still protecting standards. So we're not giving up on standards. We're not avoiding following through on standards, but we are protecting dignity. It allows people to be corrected without being degraded. It also helps managers and team members stay focused on the behavior that needs to change rather than their irritation about the person involved. Give me a thumbs up if that's landing with you. The irritation with the person involved. Okay. As soon as I am there, I need to step away. I'm going to sort of pass this along to you. If you're feeling that irritation, step away and do not attempt to have that conversation until you are able to move that aside and keep it clean. This module teaches behavioral correction, ownership of impact, response without defensiveness, and consequence with dignity. Behavioral correction means naming the specific action or pattern rather than criticizing character. Ownership of impact means recognizing that effect matters even when intent was different. But I didn't mean to do that. Yes, but you had that effect. Response without defensiveness means hearing correction without immediately arguing or collapsing. Consequence with dignity means that when a stronger response is needed, it still can be delivered clearly, respectfully. Together, these skills create accountability that people can trust. Thumbs up if this has landed with you and you get what the message is. Okay, so now let's look at some behaviors. And once again, I want you to see if you can identify the ones that are going on around you or that you might be doing, because these are the behaviors that mean accountability has slipped into blame or avoidance. And, you know, some of these have been modeled for us and you didn't realize, I didn't realize that people were doing blame or avoidance instead of accountability. Waiting too long to address a repeated issue. Correcting through irritation instead of clarity. Using character language such as careless. What's our next word?
Lazy.
Lazy.
Dramatic, impossible, or irresponsible. For those of you who don't know the history of this, this was a word that had to be removed from certain people's vocabulary. Correcting publicly when private correction would be more effective. Focusing only on intent and ignoring impact. Well, my intention was good. Yeah, but what impact did you have? Over-explaining instead of owning the miss. Well, I really meant to do it differently. And own the miss. Arguing details to avoid the larger pattern. Apologizing vaguely without changing behavior. Making excuses based on pressure, personality, circumstances. And refusing to name patterns because the conversation feels uncomfortable. Give me a thumbs up if you've two or more that you recognize in yourself and others. Okay, so we know what this is about. Now let's name and find some that you're going to start using. And I want at the end of this, we will have everybody name the one that they're going to really focus on. Number one, naming the behavior specifically. When you're having a conversation with someone, naming the behavior. Describing the impact of that behavior clearly. When you did this, this happened. Keeping correction private when possible. Allowing context without losing the standard. Owning mistakes without collapsing into shame. Forgive me, please, please, please. I'm sorry. Responding to correction with clarity instead of defensiveness. How many of you know you go defensive? We got a whole room full of people that go defensive. Yeah, thank you. And I can work with you because I was the queen of defensiveness, so I get it. Focusing on what must change going forward, naming the behavior, naming what must change going forward. Using consequences when needed without adding humiliation. Okay. You know what? If you shame and humiliate people, they learn nothing.
Nice.
Following up on repeated patterns. This has happened again. This is the 4th time this has happened this week. This is the 3rd time this month. Holding standards consistently across people and departments. So this is when we get accusations of favoritism, when that doesn't happen. All right, what did you identify that you are going to work with? Let's hear from everyone. Anybody can start.
Naming the behavior specifically.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to start by not debating intent and focusing and describing impact.
Got it. Thank you, Lynn.
I'll go with responding to correction with clarity instead of defensiveness.
Great,
And
thank you.
Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.
Describing impact clearly.
Great. Thank you, Bob.
Go with responding to correction with clarity instead of defensiveness.
Got it.
I'm going to say holding standards consistently across people and departments.
Thank you, Sam. We just lost somebody from the call. Mary Jo.
I'm gonna go with 2. Responding to correction with clarity instead of defensiveness, and describing impact clearly while not being defensive.
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
It won't come back up.
Pat Gallagher's troubleshooting. Let's hear from some others.
Mary Jo is joining me, so I'm going to jump off of my headset here, and she's just going to join in from this point.
Got it. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for your service, Pat.
That's what I said.
Oh boy, Pat, it is loud in there, brother.
Yes, sir. We got no noise cancellation now.
Okay, I'm going to mute you in between speaking. All right? Unmute yourself to speak.
You don't like the sound of servers?
I live in a very
A little
peaceful,
bit-
quiet place. All right, we need some
Little bit of
answers,
empathy for
people.
Pat Gallagher all day.
Yeah.
Bring correction private when possible.
Thank you, Joe.
Embarrassing, but
I'm gonna go with responding to correction with clarity instead of defensiveness.
Got it. Sam?
I went. I
You
said
did it.
holding
You went
standards
already. Okay,
consistently
yep.
across people and departments.
Yeah, you did a we thing. You just thinking systemically, and I was acknowledging that you think systemically.
Oh, okay.
Got
Did I do something wrong?
No, it's the position you have on this team and the role you play. All right, Mary Jo and Pat.
I was going on focusing on what must change going forward.
Okay, Mary Jo?
Ditto.
Ditto. Okay. Thank you. Alan.
Waiting too long to address the repeated issue.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, well, we're on the ones now, behaviors that create accountability.
Naming the behavior specifically.
Got it. Thank you. Richie.
Keeping correction private when possible.
Great. All right. That's 100%, right?
Hmm.
All right. We are now going on to some examples. Demonstrative example number 1. The manager says the packet came through incomplete 3 times this week and accounting had to stop and chase missing information. This creates rework and delay. Going forward, I need the full packet before it is submitted. Let's review what keeps getting missed. This is accountability. The issue is specific, the impact is clear, and the next step is corrective. Demonstrative example number 2. The manager says, you are always careless. This is why nothing gets done right around here. The team member becomes defensive, embarrassed, and focused on the tone rather than the correction. This is blame. Even if the frustration is real, the language makes learning harder. Thumbs up if you understand that that is the wrong way to do things. Thank you. Just want to make sure. All right, now we're going through the 8 practices, and at the end of this, you will identify which practice you're going to be working with this week. Number 1, name the behavior, not the person. Correction works best when it stays specific. The appointment notes were incomplete. You interrupted the handoff twice. The customer's promised timing that had not been confirmed. The paperwork came through without the required signatures. Those are workable corrections. You're sloppy, you're disrespectful, you're lazy, you never think ahead. Those are judgments. I want everybody to underline those. Those are judgments. Those are not naming a behavior. Okay. They're going after a character trait. Number 2, describe impact clearly. People are more likely to respond well to correction when they understand the consequence of the behavior. So this is connecting a behavior to a consequence. Impact can be operational, relational, customer-facing, or cultural. That slowed down the lane. That created extra work for parts. That made the customer less confident. That shifted tension into the room. Impact turns correction into something understandable rather than arbitrary. So we're naming the why. The why is the impact. It's the behavior and what it caused as a consequence. Number 3, separate the issue from identity. This is one of our principles. You know, worth is never on the line. A miss, even a repeated one, does not have to become a statement about the whole person. And I'm going to name just how difficult that can be in practice. Some team members need this reminder internally, even if it's not spoken aloud. The correction is about what happened, not about proving that somebody is fundamentally defective. At the same time, separating the issue from identity does not mean minimizing the pattern. The miss still can be serious. So most of us came up through circumstances that compounded an error with our identity. It was about our worthlessness, our uselessness, our laziness, our stupidness, and all of those things. So this is a new skill to start separating these out. And it's not about worth, it's about behavior. Number 4, receive correction without immediate defense. When corrected, many people rush to explain, qualify, or point to the surrounding pressure. Call a timeout then. That often presents about accountability from landing. You know, as soon as the other person goes into yeah, but, you need to call a timeout because they're not able to hear you once they've moved into defensiveness. So that often prevents accountability from landing. A stronger response is, I understand, you're right, that was incomplete. I can see the impact. Here's what I need to do differently next time. Context may matter, but ownership should come first. So for many people, their worth is on the line when they receive critical feedback. You know, that's a place of injury that people have a lot of scar tissue. So even though you're doing it as cleanly as possible, you may be dealing with somebody who has a lot of scar tissue and they're hearing it through about their worth. Number 5, allow context without allowing escape. So context is not an excuse, but it needs to be considered. Managers and team members should both understand that context can inform correction without replacing it. A difficult morning, unclear instruction, or unusual rush may explain part of what happened. It does not remove the need to correct the behavior or strengthen the process. So if you've been struggling with what sound like excuses to you, help people see those as separate. There is the context, and then there is the behavior, and then there is the consequence. So there are 3 things that we're looking at. So yes, the context may have contributed to it, but we still have the behavior and the consequence of the behavior. 6, don't soften the concern or the correction so it disappears. So some people are so uncomfortable with accountability that they wrap it up in so much reassurance, explanation, or apology that the message never becomes clear. You know who you are. Okay, so some of you, this is not even something that you should worry about. It never even crossed your mind to do this, right? For others, those of you who are on the IS side of the DISC map, this is what we're talking about. Some people are so uncomfortable with accountability that they wrap it up with so much reassurance, explanation, and apology that the message never becomes clear. Respectful accountability still needs a spine, a backbone. It needs, something to hold it upright. People should leave knowing exactly what was off, why it matters, and what must change. Thumbs up if that landed, if you get that. Great. It's subtle, so it may, that's why I spent more time on it. Use consequence proportionately. Not every issue requires the same level of response. Some need only a direct conversation. Others need documentation, formal coaching, changed responsibility, or stronger managerial involvement. Consequence should be matched to pattern, impact, and repetition. It should not be driven mainly by mood. Okay, so that's where you want to, if you're coming in hot, you want to be aware of it because it could impact the consequence. And then follow up after the correction. Accountability is weakened when it's delivered once and then forgotten. Follow up communicates seriousness and support at the same time. We talked about this last week. How is it going? I've seen improvement here. This has repeated again, so now we need a stronger correction. Clean accountability is not one moment, it's a process of reinforcement. So I'm going to go through this and then we'll get to the list of 8 and pick. So here is just to run you through what accountability might look like. Here's the sequence for how to have an accountability conversation. Step number 1, name the issue. State clearly what happened. The handoff came through without the needed information. You corrected her in front of the customer. The callback did not happen. So we're just naming it. It's neutral. There's no emotional energy attached to it. Describe the impact. Explain the consequence. That created extra work for service. That embarrassed the team member, affected the customer interaction. That left the customer waiting without an update. Clarify ownership. Keep responsibility with the right person or role. This part is yours to own. I need you to handle this step directly. This cannot keep being absorbed by the department. Or state the correction. This is a place not to assume. Name what needs to change. Going forward, I need the notes completed before transfer. Address that concern privately, not in front of others. If you're going to miss the callback, tell the manager before the deadline passes. And then step 5, follow up. Reinforce the expectation. We'll review this again next week. If it repeats, the response will be stronger. I want to see a cleaner pattern starting today. Okay, so now you have the sequence. Makes sense? Thumbs up if it makes sense. How all the parts go together. Okay. So now we're at our 8 practices, and I'd like you to identify a practice that you think would be meaningful to add to what you are doing.
I'll start off. Follow up after correction, the 8th practice.
Okay, thank you, Len.
I'm going to pick respond without defensiveness.
Thank you, Sam.
I'm going to pick the same thing.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Keep ownership clear.
Bob, thanks.
I'm going with follow up.
Okay.
6, state the correction plainly.
Great.
I was going to go with allow top context without losing the standard.
Okay.
Go with receiving correction without immediate defense.
Okay.
Respond well.
Describing impact.
Sorry, Ken.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Describing impact. Go ahead, Richie.
Okay.
Respond without defensiveness.
Thank you. 2 for that room. Yep.
Name the behavior, not character.
Use consequences proportionately.
Great. Al, I think you're last.
Name the behavior and not the character.
Great. All right. Are we ready for our scenarios? The first one is sales. Who will be taking this?
I'll take it.
Gonna personalize it and make it real.
Gotcha. Anthony repeatedly leaves incomplete CRM notes and weak follow-up information for others to sort out. Frank has mentioned it casually before, but never clearly enough to stop the pattern. Eventually, frustration rises, and Frank is tempted to say, "You're impossible to clean up after." The cost is both operational and cultural. The work keeps being absorbed by others, and the delayed correction increases the chance that accountability will come out as blame. A cleaner response would be, "Anthony, your CRM follow-up notes have been incomplete several times this week. That leaves other people without information they need to create and creates extra cleanup, I'm sorry. I need full notes and entered before you leave each customer. We're going to review this again at the end of the week." That is direct, behavioral, and usable.
Thumbs up if you think this is workable for your department, Len. Thumbs up for everybody who thinks it's workable. Okay, clear, step by step, identifying what it is, the consequence, what needs to change, and how it's going to be reviewed again. All right, moving on to F&I.
Okay.
Richie.
F&I manager Matt receives repeated complaints that certain deals arrive without essential information, but Ahmad responds by saying, "The day has been chaotic and everyone is doing their best. The context is true, but the pattern continues." The cost is that context is being used to soften accountability until it disappears. A cleaner response would be, "I understand the pace has been high. The missing information is still creating delay and customer confusion. We need a standard that holds even when the day is busy. Starting now, these items must be confirmed before the handoff." That acknowledges reality without excusing drift.
Okay, thumbs up if this is realistic and sounds workable. Okay, moving on to service. Joe.
Vegas repeatedly promises timing to customers before confirming with the shop. When challenged, Vegas says, "I was just trying to keep the customer calm." The intention sounds caring, but the pattern creates repeated trust problems. The cost is that the lane keeps inheriting confusion from a behavior framed as goodwill. A cleaner response would be, "I understand you were trying to reduce customer stress. Promising timing before confirmation creates a second problem for the team and the customer. Going forward, if timing is not confirmed, I need you to say exactly that and give a check back time instead. That holds the line without attacking motive."
That feels strong, Joe. Do you think that that's workable?
Yeah.
Hearing you say that sounded strong. So.
Oh, awesome.
Thumbs up. Yep. All right. Moving on to parts. Who do we have? We have an opening in parts right now. Would like somebody like to fill it?
I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
John Skursky becomes sarcastic when requests are incomplete. When Pat raises the tone issue, John immediately points out that Vegas keeps creating the problem. That may be true, but it does not answer the correction. The cost of that one real issue is used to avoid ownership of another. A cleaner response would be, "If the requests are incomplete, we will address that separately. Right now, I'm addressing your tone. Sarcasm at the counter is not acceptable. I need you to correct the request directly and respectfully. That keeps accountability from getting derailed."
Okay, so what stands out in this?
It allows context without excusing the behavior.
Yes. And it also requires that there are two parts. There is the fulfillment and then the attitude and behavior with that fulfillment. Well, he got what he needed. Yeah. All right. We need a collision manager.
I'll take it.
Thank you.
Pete misses several promised customer updates. When Justin addresses it, I'll have to change the name.
That's okay. You can make it he. If you're working with it, Pat, it's working.
He becomes embarrassed and says, "I know I'm terrible at this part." The conversation shifts towards comforting her instead of correcting the behavior. The cost is that shame is replacing accountability. A cleaner response would be, "This is not about labeling you. It is about a repeated miss in customer follow-up. The updates did not go out and customers were left waiting. We need a reliable system for that step, and I need you to use it consistently. That preserves dignity while bringing the focus back to ownership.
Excellent. Thank you for stepping in and doing that. Making clear all the different parts of this message. Okay. And helping reduce defensiveness. This is not about labeling you. All right. On to service call center. Who's going to take that?
Annabella repeatedly leaves notes that are too thin for the lane to use well. When corrected, she said, nobody ever told me exactly how much detail they wanted, even though prior guidance has been given informally. The cost is a mix of genuine ambiguity and defensive position. A cleaner response would be, then we need to make standard more explicit. Here are the exact note elements required. Starting now, these need to be included every time. We'll review a sample set together tomorrow. That brings clarity and accountability together instead of choosing between them.
Okay, so see that we do have to use more language here for it to be complete. How many of you are kind of going, wow, that's a lot? Yeah, for it to be complete, it has multiple parts.
Right.
On to Ken, accounting.
Donna raises a repeated paperwork issue only after becoming visibly irritated and then frames the concern as, no one in this store takes this seriously.
No, you have to give it the right voice, Ken.
No one in this store takes this seriously.
Somebody
The
help
paperwork
Ken
problem is
out.
real.
We gotta have a little more whining. Yeah.
I'm
No
too
one in the
exhausted.
store takes this seriously.
Ken?
With
No,
certain amount of
it's
sighing.
it's more angry. It's more angry and frustrated. Trust me, been there. The paperwork problem is real, but the delivery makes others focus on the tone instead of the correction. The cost is that blame has weakened accountability. A cleaner response would be, these documents have come in incomplete multiple times this month. That delays processing and creates rework on the back end. I need these items complete before submission, and if they are not, they will be returned for correction. That is firm without becoming global or personal.
Who's up next? Who's up next? Let's go to leadership. Who's going to take leadership?
I got it.
Thank
Al
you.
Al has had many steady team members and volatile high performers. Al tends to correct the steady person quickly because it's easier, but softens and delays and puts up shit with people that are volatile in order to avoid difficult reactions out in the middle of the showroom. The team absolutely notices the difference. The cost is major cultural damage. Accountability has become uneven, so trust in Al declines. A cleaner response would be for the manager to get whooped that needed to be whooped in private and apply the same behavioral clarity to both people. The standard is the same here regardless of style and production. This behavior affects the department and it needs to change. Accountability without fairness is not accountability. It is drift managed politically. And I have absolutely through my career been guilty of that one.
Well, thank you. You really did bring it to life, Al. I felt there was a little personalization going on there. Anybody share that perception with
Oh,
me?
I felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real.
I'm still looking for the word whooped.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that alive, Al.
And I got to
Thank
tell
thank
you, I got to clean that one up with everybody. I apologize because I have done some of that here in this dealership and I'm very sorry for it. And I defended it for a long time because of performance. And I have definitely seen the harm and things that can do. And definitely on the other side of the fence with that one at this point.
You have seen the light, Al. You have seen the
Thank
light.
you, Al, and I appreciate that apology.
Well, you're one of the guys that has taken.
I truly appreciate that. Thank
You are one of the guys that's taken the blunt of that with me, and so I felt like I needed to do that. Tom also, and And, but anyway, I really have
Joe
rethought
also?
that. Yeah, I really have rethought that.
Thank you. And Richie?
Hello, how about me?
Yeah,
Richie too.
yeah, no, you too. Yes, I have whooped unfairly on you from time to time, and I apologize.
I still love you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
All
that.
right, everybody, a little time for self-reflection. Let's move on to self-reflection. All right, so I'm going to ask you at the end of this, share some responses. First one, when I need to correct someone, do I tend to get too soft, too sharp, or avoid the issue altogether? Find your pattern. When I am corrected, do I usually respond with ownership, defensiveness, explanation, shame, or quiet resistance? Do I sometimes confuse accountability with blame? So accountability feels like blame because of how correction has felt in the past. Have I ever used context, pressure, or good intention to avoid taking full ownership for impact? Do I delay correction until frustration makes my tone less useful? Am I consistent in how I hold standards, or do I soften and sharpen based on the person involved? Al just gave a great story about that. What is one accountability habit I need to strengthen this week? And then I'd like everybody to do this last one. Complete the sentence in writing. One way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is. All right. Sam, start us off.
I'm going to go
please.
with when I am corrected, do I usually respond with ownership, defensiveness, explanation, shame, or quiet resistance? I think I do all of the negative ones of those.
Which yours?
Defensiveness, shame, quiet resistance. And I think one way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is being less defensive. That's always been
nice start. Thank you.
an issue for me.
We'd like to follow Sam's lead.
I'll go. I chose that I definitely sometimes confuse accountability with blame because of how correction has felt in the past. I am guilty of that. And complete this sentence in writing. One way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is taking time to name the behavior.
Great. Thank you, Bob.
I'll go. I have used context or good intention to avoid taking full ownership for impact. And one way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is to name the behavior and the impact it is causing while keeping to the issue.
Great. Excellent.
I'll go.
Brian?
Sorry, I'm trying to read it word for word. Have I ever used context, pressure, good intention to avoid taking full ownership of impact? I think that's something that I can work on, as I kind of work in between multiple departments. And one way I can make accountability cleaner, is going to be, taking a short reset without over drama, like being over the top me about the situation.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll go. Do I sometimes confuse accountability with blame because of how correction has felt in the past? Okay.
Yep.
And the one way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective is to provide clear examples of patterns in order to educate team members. And yeah.
Nicely stated. Thank you, Mary Jo.
I'm going with, do I delay correction until frustration makes my tone less useful? Which is a really nice way of saying until I just blow up.
Yep.
And one way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work and even outside of work is to address those things earlier and in more clear fashion.
Thank you, Pat. And how come it got so quiet? What did you do?
I use the noise cancellation option in Zoom.
Okay, great.
Oh, nice.
Nice to know. I didn't know it was there. Thank you.
If only I had those.
You're welcome, Pat.
You know, I'll be able to tell people to use it in the future. Thank you.
Noise
Pat.
removal. It's labeled as noise removal under the audio section for the microphone.
Great. Thank you. Pat, were you going?
Sure, yeah. When I corrected, I usually respond with ownership, defensiveness, explanation. I respond with defensiveness, then explanation, and then ownership once they correct me the correct way. I complete the sentence in writing. One way I can work on that, by the way. One way I could make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is to consult the accountability sequence chart to help craft effective communication.
All right. Thank you. The other Pat.
Yeah, when I'm corrected, do I usually respond with ownership, defensiveness, explanation, shame, require resistance? I'm defensive.
All of the above?
Yeah, I'm defensive, and I've really started to realize that a lot, even at, in my personal life. So I'm going to work on that. I need to. And complete the sentence writing. One way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is listening, hearing it out, and understand where it's coming from rather than just reacting.
Great. Well thought out. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go. Same thing there. When I'm corrected, do I usually respond with ownership, defensiveness, explanation, shame, require resistance? That's me. Complete the sentence in writing. One way I could make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is full transparency with the F&I team and showing everyone the same and treat everyone fairly, regardless of someone's production. That's so important to me because everyone should be treated fairly and properly.
Thank you, Richie.
You're welcome.
I'm going to combine two. I sometimes confuse accountability with blame because of my naturally occurring defensiveness. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
One way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is describing impact and encouraging ownership of the behavior.
Nice. Who remains? Okay.
I'll go. I'm thinking that, have I ever used context, pressure, or good intention to avoid taking full ownership for impact? I think I absolutely have taken advantage of that one a few times.
Oh yeah.
Pat normally doesn't let me get away with it.
Nor do I.
Nor Sam or you or my wife. But anyway, I certainly try to.
You still keep trying it.
every now and then I try to dip into that one if I can. But and do I delay correction until frustration makes my tone less useful? Absolutely. And if I was to answer or fill in the blanks here in this question, one way I could make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is think through how our team will view the fairness of the accountability decision.
Thank you.
I'm going to go with I sometimes confuse accountability with blame because of how correction is felt in the past. And then one way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is preparation. And then I stole one of your slogans, which is clear is kind.
Yep. All right. It's actually Brene Brown that I borrowed.
That's
We got
Brene
everybody?
Brown.
Yep. Brene Brown. Yep.
When I need to correct someone, I tend to either be too sharp or avoid the issue altogether.
Thank you. And you're going to do your fill in the blank?
I didn't know that was that's a new ad for this week. I was not going to do that.
How many of you heard that is something we've been doing every week?
Well, I completed it in writing, so I did fulfill the request.
Something about responding with defensiveness.
The little smile said it all. The little grinny head said it all.
One way I can make accountability cleaner and more effective at work is running my thoughts past somebody else before I open my mouth.
Okay. Thank you. Best practice. All right, everybody. One more. Wrapping it up. Healthy accountability is one of the ways a dealership protects both culture and performance. It's not an either or. Keep standards real without turning correction into humiliation. It allows people to own mistakes, adjust behavior, improve without being treated as the mistake itself. Blame weakens learning, avoidance weakens standards. Clean accountability does neither. It tells the truth about the miss, protects the dignity, strengthens the store by making correction part of normal adult work life. All right. Our final round on a 1 to 5 scale. How significant is this for you in terms of meaning and value?
I'm going to give it a. I'm going
to give your why.
I'm giving it a 5, and the reason why is number one. I always appreciate the chance for the self-reflection. You know, this time of the day, things pop up that I push to the side in the back of my brain, and also because the accountability sequence. I'll say it again. I appreciate that little 5-step create your own at Mad Lib. Remember the Mad Libs?
Yes.
Here's what I'm trying to say. Here's a great way to say it, and it makes it very, very effective. So I'm going to kind of cut that out and stick it somewhere.
Great. Thank you, Pat. Thank you for starting us off. Following Pat.
I'll go. I like the Mad Libs reference there, but usually, Pat, we filled those in with very colorful adjectives. Correct?
You can do that in the first pass, then you got to clean it up.
Okay. All right. So also reflecting is I think I confused accountability from blame is when I get defensive when things are not clear to me based on facts and metrics. So I'll get real defensive if I have that emotional person talking to me without any facts, any metrics, just kind of spewing. So I need to do a better job of asking questions to that type of person and that type of personality.
Okay. Well said. Thank you.
I'm going to rate this meeting a 5, and this is very relevant. On Friday, an email went out from a Stroudsburg Parts team member to the advisors that I thought was inappropriate. And my natural tendency was to blast him in front of the group so the advisors felt supported because it was kind of a jerky email. And instead, I said, clarity to follow, we'll regroup or something along those lines. And then I reached out to Carlos and asked if we could talk about the coaching opportunity that I see in this email. But at the time, in the moment, I was very frustrated. And as I'm going through this, like I need this to name the issue, describe the impact, clarify ownership, state the correction, and have a follow-up. And so now I have a path to work through with Carlos, because I talked to Scott, and Scott pointed out it may be a bit about the person that sent the email and not necessarily about the contents of the email. And that was a bit of truth that I had to chew on. But now I'll be in a better place tomorrow with Carlos to address it.
Great. So you like what Pat Rogers called the Mad Libs. So you got a template for it. Yep.
A variation of it.
Yep.
I will also rate it a 5. I find it kind of interesting. So when we were going through the scenarios, I was like taking notice to how descriptive the responses were.
Yeah.
And reflecting on how I typically verbally hold people accountable. So if I ever written, a written warning or a write-up, I'll kind of keep it hidden, ask questions, and then respond a lot more descriptive because I'm prepared. I'm going into it with a story and then kind of a resolution. But if I'm just having a verbal response, I'm really short and concise, and I'm thinking about how much more weight this carries when, or if I was to do the preparation work and actually have a thought out, intelligent response. So something I need to work on.
Thank you, Joe. That was really well said. There's kind of an architecture that's necessary for it to land completely. And, for most of us, we've had it modeled in a very shortened form. And that's why it doesn't land well and doesn't change behavior. It needs to be, as everybody's pointed out, there's a 5-step process. And all of that needs to be part of it for it to be effective in terms of generating behavioral change. And if that's your goal, generating behavioral change, which I believe it is, then it's worth putting the extra time into it. Otherwise, it's just repeated frustration. Thank you. Moving on.
I'll give it a 5. I just had this whole, from years ago, this whole scenario just came back in my mind. And it brought clarity of how I behave when I'm questioned about accountability, which brings to point, I want to be aware of that. So when I'm dealing with someone and we need to discuss repeated patterns, it's about the pattern. It's not about the person. It doesn't have to go to that place.
Yeah, it's about the pattern, not the person. Thank you. It's about the behavior and the consequence, not the person. Yep. Thank you, Mary Jo.
So I'll go ahead. I'll give it a 5. I mean, I see both home and work here, but I think my takeaway that I can go with this is maybe some things that I may have addressed with my aunt last week that maybe I didn't give the full clarity on that I can go back and clean up. So
great. Yeah, you can always go back and clean up. Some people think I can't go back. No, you can. And how does it start? I realized I wasn't as complete last week as I needed to be, or the situation required. It's okay to say that. And then you move into it. Yep. Thank you.
I'll go next. I give it a 5. I have a few tough conversations coming up, both in and out of work over the next couple weeks, and the practice list will actually help me stay on point, so I don't diverge from the intended conversation impact and go off in a total tangent that resolves nothing.
Great. Thank you, Len.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5 as well. One of the biggest things I'm working on right now with accountability is, getting off of being so defensive and actually listening to the person talking to me and not just waiting to speak or not trying to win the conversation, whether that's at, work or whether that's at home. That's been one of the biggest things that I've been trying to work on, and just like seeing it all play out and, getting everybody's opinions and, words from it is just like, it's opened my eyes to it a lot. But another thing I really took away from it too is the first practice, which was naming the behavior, not the person. I can speak a lot of times in blanket statements, and I'm not really explaining what it is exactly that I need either changed or fixed. And I can create just one blanket statement, and in my mind, I have it already justified, but I'm not justifying it to anybody else, and we really don't know what we're talking about. So I need to definitely.
Great call. Great call on that, particularly when you're coaching sales consultants. Great call.
Right.
I'll go.
Richie.
I'll give it a 5. And the reason why, again, there's always so much substance in learning these modules. The 8 practices, I will definitely take out and make sure I put them on my computer. The push practice list. After that, those 8 steps. If you want to do what I feel is the right thing for the company and the right thing for yourself and the team, it's just so much good. It's powerful. It really is. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Richie.
Welcome.
I'll go. I think that for me, the better I do with accountability, the more black and white it is. I think it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier, Pamela.
Mhm.
The more that it becomes interrelational or specifically outside of work, the more difficult it is for me to
Mhm.
figure out what is truly mine and what is somebody else's. I think is something I get in the weeds with. But I will say that I think that good accountability goes a long way. I think we got into a weird part of a conversation. You shot me a message, and we both held each other accountable for what it was, and I think it helped our relationship rather than hurt it, right? So
Yep.
you know, I think that that's big for me. I think it's harder to do in my personal life than it is to do at work. It's really easy to be like, I didn't read your email, Bob. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do better and try to hold myself accountable to it, or say, hey man, you didn't read my stuff, than it is to be like a customer says every time they try to call you, they can't get a hold of you. We need to do something about this. Because the customer is not going to translate this kind of language either, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's a tough. I think that as it gets further from that ones and zeros, the more difficult it gets for me.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna give it a 5 because I frequently struggle with accountability in the sense that more so I don't always receive it that well. Um, and I think
It feels like blame.
yeah, it does depend on who it's coming from. In the same way that I might give feedback differently depending on who I'm giving it to, I do receive it differently based on who it's coming from.
Mhm. Thank you, Jim. Who's left?
I haven't gone yet. I'm gonna give it a 5. There's a lot for me to wrap my head around with this, both, with self-reflection and with coaching the team. Um, like I said, I know I get defensive when accountability is brought up. I've also got the master of the universe syndrome where I'm always right, and those things don't tend to go really well together. But on the other side, um, I'm thinking about times where accountability was approached with a bad tone or a bad energy level. And in what I was justifying as an attempt at empathy, I would match that energy level and kind of enable the lack of clear accountability and what the behavior was and what could be fixed. So thinking about that now and ways to improve it is really how I want to focus and grow next.
Thank you, Ken. Al, I see your eyes wandering all over the place.
Oh, I
Put 'em
stuck
to sleep.
this module into chat for the summary, and I was looking at my notes that I wrote
Okay.
on the page, and I'm putting it
You
in
do
there. But
that
anyway,
after the session, Al, not during the session.
oh, come on. Anyway,
Because I don't think you heard what everybody just said.
I did hear what everybody said. I really did. I was listening. So, for me, this one is very, very impactful because I think, as I look at my career, I've violated about every one of those self-reflection items, and felt that way and judged other people from a whole different standard than, you know, all the ways that I did all the wrong things and I was judging them when I should have probably been pointing those fingers back at me. So it was very, very embarrassing for me to have thought that I looked at certain things from a very restricted, opinionated view. And I got a lot of extra thinking and diving into this to do personally.
Yeah. Thank you. None
Especially
of this
for-
is meant to be shame. None of this is meant to be
Especially some
shaming.
of my things at home, with
Yeah.
with some of my personal relationships with my family. So
Okay, so you hear me talk about no fault, no shame. You know, up until now, nobody ever laid it out so clearly, right? So in some ways, it's not your fault that you didn't know. And that's why I try to say is, as we grew up with role models, Al, you talk about that, the role models in the business. We saw bad behavior. We didn't see these kind of behaviors modeled. So it's nobody's fault. But now that we know, I am responsible. You know, once I've been educated in this, I am responsible for changing the behavior going forward and helping other people change the behavior going forward. So that's why, you know, no shame, no blame, no embarrassment. It is what was modeled.
Right.
And now we have a new teaching, and that teaching is what we're taking in and trying to be accountable for. So give me a thumbs up if that's true for all of you, that you're able to take that in and apply it to yourself, because I do not want any of this to ever imply shame or blame. It's the human condition. It's where we are. I'm in this with you. You know, I've just been going down the road a little bit longer. That's all. You know, I had a lot of bad behavior, and I had a lot of wonderful coaches and mentors who helped me clean up my behavior. But I'll tell you what they did is they didn't mince any words about how unacceptable my behavior was. So just what we said here, they gave me very clear feedback. They helped me understand what the behavior that was being named, the consequence the behavior had, and what was the desired correction. And then they followed up. And so they did it in a way that I could learn rather than feel shame and embarrassment and worthlessness and all those places that we can go. Is, you're right, I screwed up, I need to clean it up, and I need to keep it cleaned up going forward. So that's what we're doing.
Well, I got to
All
tell you one
good.
last, one
Yes.
last thing, Pamela, as I listen to some people and they kind of hit on this somewhat too, but in the past, when you have been given that feedback and you have received it in a shaming, embarrassing, belittling way, it's really hard to
Put an I in that statement. I find
it's really
it
hard for me, and I look back at what I have done, to model anything correctly after been receiving such bad stuff from up
early
the
on.
echelon. Up the echelon,
very,
right?
very, very early on in your life, Al, you
Yes.
received it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yep.
Right.
Yep. So
Yeah.
this is the task. This is the task we're in, is we're going back to those original messages and saying, I need to question them, I need to challenge them, and I need to rethink them. So how many of you had bad role models? How many of you had role models that just, not good? We're all in this together. So now that we know, I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to say, all right, going forward, I am accountable to you all. So help me keep cleaned up. That's what we can do for each other. Help me keep cleaned up. So, I mean, we really have raised the bar. You all are playing much better than any dealership I know in terms of respect for each other and open dialogue. So let's keep growing together. You all in? All in. Okay, thank you. Next
Thank
week,
you.
final chapter in this part 3.
Pam.
Thank you.